Welcome in, friends. We do appreciate you spending a little bit of your day with us. It is Thursday, and around these parts, that means one thing. It's Math Tuesday.
Math Tuesday.
It's Math Tuesday here on Texas Football Today, where we dig into the numbers of Texas high school football and bring you some fun facts that you can share at the water cooler. That's what people do, right?
No.
Today we're going to talk about quarterbacks. We're going to talk about signal callers. And so I'm laying out right now, me and the team are laying out the 2025 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. And one thing I think is rather remarkable about this particular season upcoming, and this will probably be, I could probably declare it right now, it's going to be the season of the quarterback. Okay? When I look across the Texas high school football landscape, there are so many good quarterbacks coming back off of really exceptional underclassmen years. It's pretty remarkable. It happens every once in a while, but like this year, 2025, there are a ton of great quarterbacks coming back, like a glut of them. And some of them are like big-time prospects, right? Keyshawn Henderson, Bo Bentley, right? Reese Wise. There's big-time prospects. There's also just like quarterbacks that maybe aren't considered like 3, 4, 5-star prospects, but are just really good high school football players.
And we consider those dudes who rock.
Those are our stars, too. We need a different, like recruiting can have stars. We need to have, like, our own measurement.
Yeah, we need a, like, Powers can handle stars, but we need something. Well, we're going to workshop this.
Yeah, we'll come up with something. It's a great year for quarterbacks in Texas high
Boulders.
school football.
Like rocks. Get it? Boulders or rocks.
Are you proud of yourself?
I am very proud of myself.
What are you doing right now?
Just hanging around.
Anyway, I want to take a look at the most productive Texas high school football quarterbacks coming back in 2025. And we broke down the stats a variety of different ways. We'll start kind of big macro, and we'll get real granular and analytical and nerdy on this little journey here on a Math Tuesday, okay? So we'll start with the basics of it. These are the top returning passers in 2024 or 2025, which is the guys who threw for the most yards in 2024. I probably don't have to explain what this means to you. You're an adult. South Lake Carroll quarterback Angelo Renda is the state's leading returning passer. Threw for over 3,900 yards. Now, 2 yards behind him, Buck Randall, quarterback at Highland Park. Landon York at Wall, coming back. Kason Brooks from Kilgore. Prosper Walnut Grove's Hayes Hackney, who did that as a freshman. Mm-hmm. Threw for 3,671 yards. Wyatt Gavitt, not far behind him at Jacksboro. Cole Collins had a terrific year at Fairfield. We talked about Reed Macon at Canyon West Plains, what a star he was last year. Jackson Jenkins at Collinsville has picked up the torch of that high-flying attack for the Pirates. And then Trevor Golightly, it's a great name, who was a spectacular sophomore quarterback for Edgewood last year. Threw for 3,480 yards. I don't have to explain to you how like this means these guys are good, right? They threw for a bunch of yards. Like this is pretty clear. This is kind of the baseline of it. But what I wanted to do, and look, I don't want to take anything away from these guys. These guys were all fantastic. South Lake Carroll played for a title, so played 16 games. Highland Park played for a title, played 16 games. Landon York at Wall, state semifinals, 15 games. Kilgore, 16 games, right? Canyon West Plains, 16 games. Or 15 games, rather. A lot of these guys put up big numbers. They also had extra games, right? They also had extra games to gather up these numbers. And so the next way I wanted to break this down was based on their completion percentage. Who are the sharpest quarterbacks? This is something that, like, if you throw, I mean, obviously, by the way, this is a minimum of 1,000-yard passers. You have to have thrown at least for 1,000 yards last year.
Makes sense.
These are the guys who are the sharpest quarterbacks as far as completion percentage. Marcus Flowers at Princeton.
That would not have been on my radar.
This one surprised me. 80% completion, almost 81% completion. Okay? Marcus Flowers is the sharpest quarterback in Texas high school football coming back. And, by the way, I believe he was the state's leader in completion percentage, whether they're coming back or not, based on their completion percentage. The only guy who came close to him was the guy right behind him, Hudson Humble at Harker Heights.
That's the cheeseburger effect.
There you go. 70, almost 80% there. Kavian Bryant, the superstar for Palestine, that's actually Palestine Westwood. They're at 74.7%. Jack Dalton from the Woodlands, over 73%. Cole Taylor from Pflugerville. Tristan Beal from Abilene. Jackson Shad, who did it
as a freshman.
just absolutely spectacular for Weiss. Angelo Renda on there as well, Reed Macon. And then Elvis Estrada out there at San Antonio Johnson. So those are guys who are the sharpest quarterbacks as far as their completion percentage is concerned. But what about yards per attempt? So take the number of yards they threw for, how many times you threw it. So this is kind of a measurement not only of how many, like not just how much you are completing the ball, completion percentage, but also how far downfield you're going, or maybe how much you're getting help from your receivers, right? Yards per attempt, because you got to complete it for the attempt to matter. Otherwise, to zero. Tamaje McMillan at Wilmer Hutchins, 14.6 yards per attempt. 14.6 yards per attempt. You might call this large bills only, okay? Kavian Bryant at Palestine Westwood, also 14 per 6. DeJuan Johnson, we're going to get to him, at New Diana, 14.4. Marcus Flowers, not just being sharp, but also being pushing it down the field, 13.6 yards per attempt. Heston Jobe at De Leon. Chris Brown from Houston Yates. You see Kason Carney at Munster, who led them to a state championship.
I was going to say, that's impressive just because of the amount of games that he played the full amount of games that you can play.
And you consider what a dynamic running threat he is, too.
Mm-hmm.
Prather Schneeman at Ira Ann. Hell yeah. 13.2.
That's not real.
That is real. He is real. He's real good.
He's real.
Tristan Beal at Abilene, and then Chase Lanthelme, who I'll talk about a little bit more. He's an interesting story as well. But as far as yards per attempt, these are the returning leaders in yards per attempt. The guys who are pushing the ball down the field and completing it at a high percentage, obviously, as well. So the next one that I want to talk about, I want to break it down even further. Let's talk about touchdown rate, okay? This is, plain and simple, the percentage of your passes that go for touchdowns, right? Plain and simple. DeJuan Johnson at New Diana.
This guy's nails.
Almost 21% of his passes went for touchdowns.
That's insane.
The numbers on DeJuan Johnson at New Diana are kind of silly, okay? This is a guy who completed 107 of 154 passes, threw for 32 touchdowns. 32. Large bills only for DeJuan Johnson. And by the way, a running threat too. Kavian Bryant at 18.2. Bo Bentley, of course, needs no introduction at this point. Chase Lanthelme is interesting too. Remember, Chase Lanthelme was not the full-time starting quarterback for Stratford. They had Bryce Braden. So now Bryce Braden, they were moving him all around. He got plenty of looks. He threw the ball 102 times, ended up throwing for 1,319 yards. And when he threw, on 18 of his 102 pass attempts, they ended in the end zone. Pretty good. Jace Wheeler at Canyon Lake. You see Tristan Beal showing up here a lot. Rodrigo Martinez at El Paso Isleta. Miles Tedeki, guy who led Vandergrift to a state championship. 16.5% of his passes ended up going for 6. Chris Brown at Houston Yates, and then Gavin Beard, first time we've mentioned him, the outstanding quarterback at Aledo. All these guys, by the way, remember, are coming back. We're talking about returning quarterbacks. We're not talking about guys who are off to the next level. These are guys that you will see in Texas high school football in 2025. So there's one more thing I wanted to do, and this is a little, you got to follow me on this. It's a little art and a little science. But I wanted to come up with a way of measuring explosiveness, okay? Because essentially what I wanted to take is you saw the yards per attempt, right? The yards per attempt, that's pretty good. Large bills only, right? If you're throwing for 20 yards an attempt, you are pushing the ball down the field or your receivers are doing help. And also, you have your touchdown rate. The name of the game is getting the ball in the end zone. And so I want to take those two combined. And so what we did is we're taking the yards per attempt and multiplying it by the touchdown rate. And this is what we're calling our explosiveness index. Okay? These are the most explosive passers in Texas high school football. That when they throw the ball, big things happen. And again, there's DeJuan Johnson lapping the field here. Silly numbers here. Silly numbers. Again, to reiterate, this is a guy who threw the ball 154 times. Every time he threw the ball, it went for 14 and a half yards on average, and it ended in the end zone almost 21% of the time. Kavian Bryant at Palestine Westwood. Chase Lantelme. This is a guy I'm really fascinated by because in these short bursts, he was exceptionally productive. But can he continue that now as the true starting quarterback there at Stratford? Bo Bentley at Salina. No surprise there. A guy who's pushing the ball down the field. There's Tristan Beal again. I'm telling you, this kid at Abilene's got something. Mm-hmm. Really, really sharp. 89 of 123 for 21 touchdowns. Nearly 1,700 yards. Chris Brown at Houston Yates. There's Prather Schneeman again at Ira Ann. Rodrigo Martinez. Rounding it out with Gavin Beard and Kason Carney. And by the way, you look up and down this list, you have guys who are exceptional runners as well. DeJuan Johnson's a runner. Kavian Bryant can run. Bo Bentley can run. Right? Kason Carney, we know he can run. He ran for a game-winning touchdown in the state championship.
Kason Carney, I would argue, ran more than he threw.
You could make an argument he's a better runner than a thrower. These are explosive passers. And when I tell you that there are a ton of really, really good quarterbacks coming back this year, that's what I mean. All told, let me see if I can do this really quick because I started a sentence, didn't know if I could finish it.
Math Tuesday, but make it live.
As far as quarterbacks at the UIL 11-man ranks that threw for at least 1,000 yards, okay? Threw for at least 1,000 yards. We have 311 coming back.
Wow.
In UIL 11-man. Basically, a quarter of the team. No, more than a quarter. More than 30% of the UIL Texas high school football teams will have a quarterback who threw for at least 1,000 yards last year. That's exciting. And it should have you excited for the 2025 Texas high school football season. And that's Math Tuesday.
Math Tuesday.